Hey everybody, welcome back. Mia Paulus here. So today we're going to talk about emotional intelligence in your business. So there are many forms of intelligence, but one of the most useful ones for entrepreneurs and leaders is emotional intelligence. So your emotional intelligence dictates how well you interact with others, how empathetic and resilient you are, and it is something that can be worked on and developed over time. So in this video, I want to talk about emotional intelligence and share some of my recent thoughts and learnings. Okay, let's go and get started. Okay, so let's first define what emotional intelligence is. I a lot of times don't like big corporate words because I think it can get lost. It's kind of like a platitude. We hear it over and over again and then we start to lose its meaning. So at the end of the day, like emotional intelligence is acting like an adult. Like, what does that mean? So simply, it's really recognizing, understanding, and managing your own emotions, but then recognizing, understanding, and helping influence the emotion of others. So we really need to be aware of how our behavior and emotions can impact others positively and negatively, and how we can really manage those emotions. Okay, so what I want to do is just kind of deep dive into 6 areas of emotional intelligence and how it can really affect your business positively and negatively. Okay, the first one is around giving and receiving feedback. So when you have all emotional intelligent people in the room, you can give and receive feedback very efficiently. What do I mean by that? So I think about my executive team that I am in meetings with. We all are very emotionally intelligent, all low drama. We're all here for the better good and united for the vision of the company, living our values. And there is zero ego in the room, which I think is rare in an executive team. But at the end of the day, we also aren't afraid to have hard conversations. We want to get to the root issue. And so we can literally have a tug of war back and forth, and where it doesn't even feel like a compromise when we're done, because we're so principle-based that by the time you have that tug of war, we really just come to the solution, the best decision to make. So when you're able to give and receive feedback, if everybody's emotionally intelligent, it makes it really easy. Now, I know when I'm in a one-on-one with somebody and they're not as emotionally intelligent, it's really tough because it's like I kind of regress a little bit to my old self where it's like, oh, I don't want to offend them, or I don't want them to make them feel bad. And I have to kind of overcome those a lot of times where I don't have those feelings when I know I'm in a safe space with people that we can just have a healthy dialogue. Okay, another situation we might feel kind of under pressure and it kind of exposes if people are emotionally intelligent or not is when there are tight deadlines. And some people work really well under pressure. I know I do. That's why in college I procrastinated to the last minute and then got it done. It's a terrible habit, but sometimes I'm like, I could spend 2 weeks doing this, or I know I could spend 1 day for the same amount of work and it will just probably be better. So sometimes I'm purposely procrastinate because of that skill I have developed, but at the end of the day, not everybody's good with that. And so that doesn't necessarily mean that you're not emotionally intelligent if you don't like working really hard against a deadline, but how you react to that makes a big difference. So sometimes I like people that want to be bigger planners surrounding me because I'm like, let's just get it done and plan less. And so you can kind of have this natural, again, healthy tug of war of understanding, like, what is it that needs to happen given the situation. And so surrounding yourself with different people that have different strengths is good. And if you're all emotionally intelligent, it's not about themselves. Emotional intelligence can be a selfish thing because it's like, oh, it's all about me, or I'm going to react on somebody else because I'm not happy with myself. And so these are all qualities that are super important in a healthy team. If you just want to get the job done, move as fast as possible, and scale fast, it's really going to weed out those that aren't willing to elevate to the next level. Every time your business grows, you might find some A players drop down to B, B players drop down to C. And it's for this reason, is because the bigger you get, the more emotional intelligence is required. And sometimes the people you originally hired might not be an A player enough to get you to that level. Okay, the third is kind of a stressful situation is when you're having to deal with challenging relationships. So think about maybe a client that isn't easy to work with. You know, sometimes you might, like I know in our Slack channels, if people start getting like talking bad about the client through channels, like that's not a good thing to do, because to me, you always want to be able to be objective about the client. We don't know what's going on with them, but at the end of the day, we have the ability to still fire them. So let's have an emotionally intelligent, objective conversation about how they're treating us. Maybe they're not giving us information timely enough, whatever it is, we can start to have that dialogue. But if it's just emotionally in charge where we're putting things in Slack feeds and then it just fuels up all the other people, it just creates chaos that isn't necessary. Instead, get on a Zoom call. It doesn't have to get documented And everybody, because written text is sometimes so hard to discern on what people are trying, like their emotions behind it. So that's why sometimes getting on that Zoom call, not being afraid to get on Zoom calls either. I think sometimes I've asked, well, did you just pick up the phone and try to call them? Like, to me, that's all part of emotional intelligence. If we try to hide behind different channels of communication, like, no, sometimes we need to pick up the phone and call. Sometimes chat's good enough. Sometimes it's like, okay, we're not getting it done in chat. Let's just get on a video call. Those are all emotionally intelligent things that are important to do for the success of a company and start to train your employees to do as well. So the fourth one that can kind of create tense situation is like not really having enough resources. And sometimes this is actually my favorite thing to put on employees, because when you kind of go through these ebbs and flows of business of too much bloat, not enough resources, and that's kind of a healthy dynamic, because if people get too comfortable with bloat and I'm like, hey, I can just coast along and I don't have a lot of work to do, then they get really comfy when it's like, okay, all hands on deck, we got to get this going. And so people that are emotionally intelligent will be able to pivot and that want to just work hard. They're going to find ways to create value for their position. If you don't have enough client work, find other ways to create value as well. Like the emotionally intelligent create and realize that, hey, I need to earn my keep and create value. And those are the things that as leaders we look for in other employees that we want to promote, right? How are they when resources are tight? Are they going to be more resourceful? Are they going to innovate new ways? Are they going to look for ways to automate? I love the tight side because I think we can always do more with less than what we think we could. When we're put in stressful situations, that is when innovation happens. And so I just challenge you to not always try to hire above where you need to go or try to make things uncomfortable. You know, we had this goal of like, what does it take to onboard 100 clients a week? Because that's going to put us in a tense situation, and we had to back into that. And so we're now like we got to 10 employees, and now our goal is 20 employees, and we're starting to get closer and closer to that 100, and we want to get there fast. So it's kind of cool to be able to really back into that number and tighten the resources by just asking that question too. So the fifth one that might put us in stressful situations around like managing our emotions and kind of create uncomfortable situations is around navigating change. So one of our core values is embrace the uncomfortable. And this one is there for a reason, because we know that to grow to where we want to go in our company, we have to be willing to be uncomfortable and embrace change. Now we're trying not to whiplash our employees like crazy as we're getting bigger, but we do know that change is part of growth. And so, and there's always ways you can micro change smaller components. So for instance, if it's a task or a project, that's not going to disrupt the whole organization. It's just going to disrupt maybe one or two positions. So find ways to make things better. You know, just because something was been done for the last 2 years doesn't mean it's the best way to do it. So figure out how to get people to think outside the box, think differently, and not just be robots. I mean, we've been trained to be robots in the classroom through management like styles. Like all of us has trained us to not think. And I'm trying to change that out of all of us, is like, let's empower the people we work with. Let's empower ourselves to really think outside the box. And so that's kind of, to me, again, a way that we can level up our emotional intelligence is by being okay with change. We had a girl that literally worked for us. She has plenty of money outside of working for us, but she's like, I literally just want to embrace the uncomfortable because I know that's what I need to be able to change and grow into a better person. Okay, and the sixth one is really working through setbacks and failures. To me, failure is a natural part of progression. I look at failure much differently now. I was like, let's fail as fast as we can because then we can get so much data from that. I used to not be like that. I'd be like, let's plan it to death so we can make sure it's perfect so we don't fail. Like, I think we got to change that dynamic. Because failure is part of progression. It's part of innovation. And so it's such a critical part. So if people understand that, to me, that means that they're more emotionally intelligent as well, because to me, that is part of progress. So before I dive into a little hack that you can use for yourself personally to help you kind of elevate your level of emotional intelligence, I would love it if you like this video to like and subscribe to it. This content, by liking it, it helps push out to the algorithm for other people to like it. And I just really wanted to get this messaging out to others and really continue to give you all free content and value. Okay, so here's a little hack to really take action and kind of change your story. So a lot of us, the way we typically kind of work through our kind of crazy stories we tell ourselves in our head is we think, okay, here's the thought I have of, I want to go and do yoga. And then you're like, okay, but I'm feeling I do want to do yoga, or I'm feeling I don't want to do yoga. And based on that feeling, I then take action. So a lot of times we've trained ourselves based on our feeling to do the thing. But if we switch it around where, okay, I have a thought that I want to go do yoga, and I just go take action without really thinking so much that, on the feeling of that. And then I can feel like, wow, I did yoga and I feel really good about that. Like sometimes put the feeling on the end of it, not necessarily letting our feelings drive what we should or shouldn't do. You've heard me talk about this a lot, but if we can connect our heart and our mind together, sometimes but a lot of times all of us are just emotionally driven. We're emotionally making decisions without ever thinking about it. So connect our heart and our mind together, our thoughts and our feelings too, then just go take action. And then we can have that feeling instead of trying to process the feeling beforehand. By doing the action, get the feeling, if that makes any sense. So hopefully that video was helpful for you. If you want to continue to really elevate yourself and where you're spending your time and where your team is spending their time, I'm putting on a free event called Mastermind My Time. It is a free 5-day VIP event. The whole goal is to get your business to be sustainable, know where you're at in your business, where your mindset is at, what phase of business are you in, so you can know what action you need to take today and what actions you might need to be taking tomorrow. And so if you want to be a part of that, it's a free 5-day event. It's pre-recorded, so you can go at your own pace. And it's also just a small commitment each day, free gifts for everybody. There's no drawing or anything. We're just giving the free gifts for everybody on each day. So you can again go to mastermindmytime.com, and I'll put the link in the description. So again, you can go to mastermindmytime.com.